Wow. Did y'all see the throne of skulls? That takes pure evil.
But what people don't know is that Adam and Eve actually had 30 sons and 32 daughters.
And the human women that these watchers, they were cursed. And that is how they became the sirens or the mermaids. Now,
he was taken up. And they said that he ascended in a whirlwind to heaven, on the horse that he was on. And all those men went back to where they were from, but they decided to go back to where they last saw him, which they described it as a place with snow, to see if they could figure out had he somewhere underneath the snow. This is interesting for anyone who believes that the ice caps that surround us are the edge of earth, and that is where heaven is.
Who were all the women before the flood? Well, there are these ancient scrolls called the Book of Jubilees.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy Jetski Chuck, back with another creepy and scary, disturbing TikTok reaction video. These disturbing TikToks might make you rethink your entire reality, mind-spinning, shocking theories, all that. Weird videos. We're going to dive in deep on today's video. These videos are for entertainment purposes only. It's up to us to distinguish fact from fiction and do your own research on everything. But before we get started, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and let's go. Yo, this doesn't look like the Paris catacombs. This looks like some type of Venezuelan, some type of, this is a whole different, wow. Did y'all see the throne of skulls? How scary was that? That was ridiculous. There wasn't no graffiti on top of those skulls. They ain't gonna look. They walking through skeleton juice. Oh my God. This is crazy. Just skulls. That's a lot of people though. People did these catacombs all over the world. Why? Look at that. This right here, you guys see that? It was literally, nobody made that. I mean, someone did, but not recently. This was there when they found the catacombs. Look at it. How twisted is that? Who wants to sit down there? Think about how evil someone has to be to sit down there in the dark on type of skeletons. That takes pure evil. You just go down there, sit on those skeletons and venerate or whatever they do, chant. That's disturbing.
The following video was posted by a woman named Brittany. She was hiking out at New River Gorge National Park in West Virginia when she came upon this interesting sight. It does honestly look like another gigantic doorway. It actually doesn't look natural. It looks like this is been put together or made, but by what? And it's interesting that she points out the footprint on the wall, because that's exactly what it looks like. This is an interesting sight. If anybody's been out at New River Gorge and have seen this, let us know what this is, because I'm going to have to put my opinion out there and say that this is not a natural formation. It's too precise. But the thing is, what made it? And is it some sort of secret facility, or maybe something from prehistoric times? Take a look at this footage and tell me what you think. The following video was posted.
If I had to take a guess, that was giantly an ancient giant door of some kind. I wonder what's behind that. Door number 1.
Now, if you have a thought, you can literally be thinking about a bicycle and don't mention it, and you can open your phone up on Facebook, and what's the first suggestion you will see? A bicycle ad. And you wondering, I didn't talk about this. I thought it. Why is it in my phone? Because these things are reading the brain waves and pattern. Your brain waves is a sequence. It's like a sequel. It's a mathematical equation. If you build some type of software to read that mathematical equation, then you can translate it into the exact image or English that you need it to be. And I can tell you what you was thinking. CIA been doing this on people for the longest. It's a movie called Eraser. Have y'all ever seen Eraser, where they had all this technology and can see through walls? I think Arnold Schwarzenegger played in it, I believe. Go back and watch that movie. This movie is before I was born. I was born in 1988, and they was showing you this technology. So these things do exist, and it's all for greed and to drive a sale. So if I can take a phone, right, and my phone can read your brain patterns, or if I can get your genome sequence, there's no reason why, if you get a new phone and you really read through all of those Privacy Act laws, that you are giving over your thoughts, you're giving over your privacy, you're giving over your camera. They taking pictures every millisecond. This thing take about 3 pictures of me, and you can turn off the lights and use a UV light in it to show the phone taking pictures. The phone is constantly recording your conversation, seeing the things you like. The actual grid inside the phone, or the circuit breaker, is emitting a frequency, and it's giving you called bioloop feedback of your brain pattern waves. This thing is the actual snake that was in the Garden of Eden. This is the apple. And that's the reason why, if you look at the back of your iPhone, notice it's an apple that have been bit off, right? Well, have you heard of the apple deception in the Garden of Eden? The tree of knowledge, good and evil, that was told not to eat from that tree, and they ate from that tree. And once they ate from the tree, they had knowledge. They knew it all. And that knowledge was going to cause the actual collapse of man or mankind, because it was high technology. This the same type of thing. So this is the tree of knowledge, good and evil, and the high elites, or the serpent, trying to get us to eat from this forbidden knowledge, and we doing it every day. So your cell phone, man, is crazy work, man. This is a very, very spiritual harvesting device. And if you go through it, you can, all your dark secrets in here, everything that you think about, you put it in your phone, whether you physically do it or whether you mentally do it. So these things are harvesting our souls, our energy, our spirit. So this is the tree of knowledge, good and evil. So yes, your thoughts are not in your head. Your thoughts are above your head, connected to what you will call your electrical magnetic spectrum, a grid. And if you reach the frequency of that thought, you can grab it from the air. If you can grab it through your biological entity, there are synthetic, artificial things that act like you that can grab them too, such as your cell phone. Just like you can go into a cell block, just like your body have cells in them, just like an alkaline battery have rechargeable cells. That's the reason why it's called a cell phone. Now, if you
Honestly, is your phone reading your thoughts? Because I can't tell you how many times that I've been thinking of something, and then it'll pop up right afterwards. And then I can tell, like, when I'm getting too deep into something, it would try to switch me off it by throwing me some outrageous distractions.
We already at the University of California at Berkeley been able to put the human brain into an MRI machine. You feed that into a computer, Once you know the blood flow at thousands of points on the human brain, computer prints out a picture of what you are thinking. Now, I've seen these pictures. They're not very clear, but the very fact that we can extract a picture from a living brain is incredible.
Yeah, I've seen that. It's pretty fascinating.
It's fascinating stuff. And even when you go to sleep, the machine keeps on going and will eventually print out your dream.
Whoa.
Now, we've seen pictures of the dreams. They're not very good yet, but that's just a matter of time. The number of pixels that we have is about 20,000 pixels of the human brain. In the future, we'll have millions of pixels of the human brain to have a much finer resolution of your dream. We already at the University of California.
You guys ever had a really good dream and you wish you could replay it? It looks like it might be possible.
I never use that crap they taught me in school. They should teach gardening in school instead. Well, here's how I use geometry to increase my garden yields by more than 40 times. And save a bunch of time, too. First, why the heck do we garden in rows? I grew up gardening in rows and I'm never going back. Here in a 20 by 20 garden, we can fit 120 heads of lettuce at recommended spacing. Just by switching from rows to beds, we can more than double our yields. You want to get real gone? Switch to a keyhole garden like I got. 540 plants in the same space. 5 times the yields. Research shows the plants will actually grow better and use fewer resources like water. And there's way less room for weeds. But you don't want to just grow lettuce. The next thing I'll never do again is plant all my beds or rows in just one crop. Instead, I'm going to intercrop different crops together like this. And again, research shows this improves plant health. For example, I can take this whole 25 by 20 foot garden and easily fit it into this one 10 by 10 bed, and have a much more comfortable space to work in. And we end up with gardens that look much more interesting and beautiful. In fact, people think they're just flower gardens. Here's a diagram of one of the planting designs you see in all my videos, and in this bed I can fit more than 10 times the number of plants as I could in a row system. In fact, here's my whole garden design using intercropping and polycultures like this. I never use that crap they taught me in school.
Throw a couple rods in the middle, copper rods in the middle of that thing, man, your plant's really gonna be taking off, man. There's never a right time to really start growing your own food, man. It's imperative.
Andy Rockefeller created the curriculum for the entire medical education in the world. And he made sure that only the chemicals he produced are used for the treatment of illness. No matter what it is. We are still working under the same premise today. That's why no medical doctor ever learns about curing anything. They learn about chemical intervention or surgery. Statistically, the suicide rate of doctors, MDs, the highest. Why is the alcohol and drug abuse rate statistically the highest with medical doctors? Very simple. These poor guys figure out over time that they have no tools and that they are murdering and murdered their patients. Because every doctor is a good person when they start out. The first year and the first 2 years, you're really excited and you're really in it and you're giving it all until you find out no matter what you do, the patient gets worse or they cure themselves. You just need to bridge them for a while. And then these poor doctors figure out they cannot help. And all of a sudden they figure out that all these people are dying, no matter what they do. Andy Rockefeller created the curriculum for the entire medical
And our educational board, but that's for another video. For entertainment purposes only. Do your own research on everything. Separate fact from fiction.
This is McDonald's French fries. In the U.S., there's 11 ingredients.
Andy Rock.
This is McDonald's French fries. In the U.S., there's 11 ingredients. In the U.K., there's 3, and salt is optional. An ingredient called dimethylpolysiloxane is an ingredient preserved with formaldehyde, a neurotoxin, in the U.S. version. This is used as a foaming agent so they don't have to replace the oil that often, making McDonald's more money here in the United States. But they don't do that across the pond. This is Skittles. Notice the long list of ingredient differences. 10 artificial dyes in the U.S. version and titanium dioxide. This ingredient is banned in Europe because it can cause DNA damage. Artificial dyes are made from petroleum, and products containing these dyes require a warning label in Europe that states it may cause adverse effects on activity and detention in children. And they have been linked to cancer and disruptions in the immune system. This on the screen back here is Gatorade. In the U.S., they use red 40 and caramel color. In Germany, they don't. They use carrot and sweet potatoes to color their Gatorade. And let's look at cereal. General Mills is definitely playing some tricks on us. They launched a new version of Trix just recently in Australia. It has no dyes. They even advertise that, when the U.S. version still does. This is McDonald's French fries.
It's like you really can't trust nothing unless you drop your own seeds.
Secret societies or cults. Well, take a look at what this woman found in Fresno. What some would say just art. But the meaning and significance behind it has people questioning why and who owns this building and what do they do there. Are these the signs that people talk about that are in front of your eyes, but we normally overlook as we do our day-to-day activities? Is there a deeper meaning to this, or is this simply just art? Take a look and tell me what you think.
All right, so I live in Fresno. I'm by Fulton and Divisadero. I pass by these buildings and I see these like, I don't know, like devil shit. Like, I don't know, he's like throwing an angel baby on the floor or through the roof. There's this. All of this, all over this. Like, I'm not sure. I think they're like low-income apartments, or it's a building. And it just caught my eye. It's like demon stuff. There's one too. This one's crazy. There's that one. But it has horns on top.
Secret societies or cults. Well, take a look at.
That was disturbing. That was definitely crazy and disturbing. I wouldn't want nothing to do with that business. Or if it's the apartment, it's time to find another, put an application at another apartment.
Check this out. Give me some volume on this.
The Bible says Behemoth lives under the shady trees in the fens. The Old English word fens means the swamp. Well, the largest swamp in the world is in Central Africa, right on the equator, called the Likwala Swamp. 55,000 square miles. It is 80% unexplored. In 1910, an article came out in the New York newspaper after folks had gone into the swamp, and they said, folks, there are dinosaurs still alive in that swamp. The natives kept talking about a couple of animals. When Dr. Mackel said, fellas, what is Mokale Umbembe? They draw a sketch on the ground of an Apatosaurus or a Cetosaurus, one like this right here. Dr. Mackel said, fellas, that's a dinosaur. They've been dead for 70 million years. And the natives said, we're sorry, we didn't know about that. We've never been to America to study evolution. All we know is we see them out in the swamp once in a while. Now, they're not very big, okay? They're about 20 feet nose to tail is what the natives will tell you. Most of the body's about the size of a hippopotamus, just a long neck and a long tail. Some guys from Los Angeles went to the swamp and said, look, we saw one. They said the creature was brownish in color. The skin appeared slick and smooth. It had a long neck and a small head. They heard it making a tremendous roar. Many other members of the expedition, and this includes government officials from the Congo, saw it and heard it. Marcelina Ignagnus saw one. He's a biologist from the Congo. He said it looked like that. There have been about 30 expeditions into that swamp looking for this critter right here. Many of those that come back say, man, all the natives over there know about it. It's like...
how they had the blinds, they had that covering from the sun. They were traveling a far way. That is interesting.
Number 1. The planet Earth is and has been the subject of an extensive, massive, a very thorough and detailed study by several extraterrestrial civilizations. Now that's an attention getter in itself. Number 2, these civilizations have demonstrated an extremely advanced technology, possibly hundreds or even thousands of years beyond our own. It gets better. There seems to be a process or a plan of some kind unfolding. The studies indicated and demonstrated that a development of some kind of program was underway. Evidence collected indicated that the program has been going on for a very long time, possibly hundreds or even thousands of years. And some of my associates, research fellows, and I have concluded it's probably been going on longer than that. The study concluded that there did not appear to be a major military threat involved in 1964. That if they, whoever they are, were malevolent or hostile, there was absolutely nothing we could do, because the level of technology that had been demonstrated was so far beyond anything we had in 1964 that we felt that if they were hostile or malevolent, the game was up. It was all over with.
So this is the most recent hurricane making landfall. And those pulses that are glowing across the country, those are called NEXRAD radar systems. Supposedly, they're just meant to track storms and, figure out what the environment circumstances are. However, many have analyzed the radar and found anomalies in the radar pulsing, in the lasers. Allegedly, these stations emit a very powerful frequency beyond what's necessary to track these systems. Some say it's used to create and direct systems. Maybe research this topic and decide for yourself. So this is the most recent hurricane.
Yeah, I do know that there was some storms that was going on. I hope everyone's all right, man. Man, it's getting real out here.
Start by taking off this dome here. Maybe we'll sit over here for now. Alright, starting with the base, I have 3 magnets, and as you see, south is pointed upwards, which works out perfectly for a compass. Now, I've tried 4 magnets around here, but a lot of people think of Earth as a ring magnet, and some people think of it as a magnetic pump. Well, it actually could be both. And what we'll do is set you up here and we'll get started on this. You zoom in so you can, hopefully you can see better. Starting to get a little dark here. Maybe turn on some lights. Try that. Alright, the first thing I'll do is I'll add some salt water to the center, and being careful not to go over the contents. Now, I've seen something like this from a YouTuber named Everybody's Eye. It had nothing to do with Flat Earth, and he doesn't even believe in Flat Earth. And, that was 2 years ago. At the time, I didn't either. But now, it seems the more and more I hear about globe Earth, the more ridiculous it sounds. Alright, now I'm going to hook up my terminals to the negative. Will go to the outer ring, and the positive to the center. Then with my battery charger, I'm going to turn this on a 10 amp setting. That's 12 volts, of course. Oh, and so we can see what's going on here, and add a little bit of pepper. Alright, I'll let this run a little bit and you can see how the currents work. By turning this, it'll actually, it seems like it times it, so the water will actually move a little bit differently. But anyway, take a look at it, let me know what you think in the comments, and thanks for watching.
I would like to see the same experiment done, putting water on the surface of a spinning ball and keeping the water in place while these currents are going. That's what I want to see. Someone do that, and maybe you can convince a lot of people. But until then, this has a lot of validity.
I was gifted something awesome. I was gifted the 1911 11th edition of Encyclopedia Britannica, all of the volumes. And I want to share with you just a couple things that I randomly found just flipping through the pages. So I was just flipping through the different maps, and looky what I found. What is that right there? Tartaria. So here I found Atlantis. And what does it say about Atlantis? It says that it was an island country larger than Asia Minor, that it had been in power 9,000 years earlier, and its armies had overrun most of Europe, except for Athens, which stood alone against it. Now, what's really interesting, that if you read down here, it says that it was a sunken island off the Cornish coast, and that it appeared in many folktales from Gibraltar to Hebrides, and until 1853 was marked on English charts as a rock at 44 degrees and 48 minutes north and 26 degrees and 10 minutes west. Anyone around there, I'd love to see what that looks like. Even what we consider common words like parasite don't have the same meaning as we would think of them today. The early parasites may be divided into two classes, religious and civil. The former were assistants of the priests, their chief duty being to collect the corn dues, which were contributed by the farmers of the temple lands. I was gifted something awesome. I was gifted the...
When I found out all you needed was a container and some nutrients to grow your own food, my imagination went crazy. And at first I went to the internet to get some answers, and I found a lot of good ones. But as always, while I'm following directions, I always think, what if? What if I do this? What if I do that? And why don't we do this? Could there be a better way? So I do a lot of crazy stuff, and I like to experiment. I'm more of a show me how to get started and I'll figure out the rest. And at the end of the day, if I just figure out something that works better for me, then it's all worth it. The world might not see half the crazy things that I do, but I enjoy every bit of it. So I hope some of my videos will get you excited, make you want to start, always learn, experiment, most of all have fun. When I found out all you needed was a container and some nutrients to grow.
I'm a conspiracy theorist. Of course, if I get invited to a private island or a party ran by P. Diddy, I will not be going because I will not be selling my soul. I'm a conspiracy theorist. Of course, I don't think Hurricane Helene was made in nature. More like a lab. Have you ever heard of HARP? I'm a conspiracy theorist. Of course, I don't think the meat you get in fast food is animal meat. And I don't think it's plant-based meat either. I'm a conspiracy theorist. Of course I've spent time looking into the 13 Illuminati families. Do you know which family your favorite celebrity, politician, or religious leader's from? If you're a conspiracy theorist like us, make sure to follow along.
I'm going to really drive this home for the last 3 minutes. Einstein, Hubble, Hawking, Arthur Eddington, you name them, Wolfgang Pauli, they all explain you can't prove that the Earth is moving from the Earth. You cannot, including stellar aberration. And they will tell you point blank that they can create a model for you that explains alleged parallax, which doesn't actually happen, retrograde motion, stellar aberration, all in a geocentric model with the Earth stationary. And you cannot prove that it's spinning or revolving on the Earth itself. It's impossible. Stephen Hawking in 2007 explained it, quoting Einstein from his writings in Special and General Theory of Relativity, his paper on the combined two theories. explaining that you cannot prove that the earth is spinning. They choose to believe in the Copernican principle because they have a religion. That triggers people because they think they hate religion, they hate God oftentimes. But that is a religion. It's a belief system built upon the doctrine of men, void of empirical, verifiable evidence, and in fact contrary and antithetical to the actual evidence. Despite what the evidence says, I just now read him point blank say it can never be disproven. We disregard that possibility because of the horror of a special and unique position. Right? And I have plenty of quotes here from geocentrists or heliocentrists explaining you can never prove it. You can't prove that the earth is that the earth is not stationary. But we don't want to believe that because that would mean the earth is special. So then what do? We go look out at the background distribution, the energy coming away from the earth. It shows the earth's in the center. So what do? They call it the axis of evil. And then they come up with a new idea. Well, oh, it does look like we're the center, but that must mean that no matter where you are in the universe, it would look like you're in the center. Or we're just in the center. They don't want to say what it is because it has spiritual implications. It has philosophical ramifications. And that is that the earth had to be placed there. It has a special, unique position. They want to believe that there are a tiny speck of dust in an ever-expanding universe of nothingness where everything came from nothing and there's a pre-existing energy. Let's not talk about that part. Oh, lightning struck primordial soup and all this nonsense. And you know, why? That's a good question. Probably because they're scared of like moral accountability, I would guess. But this is the point. This is the problem. It's portrayed as science, and we're brainwashed and indoctrinated with this idea as if it is science, and it's proven, and it's not questionable. And you actually go look behind the curtain, it's philosophy. And they admit it. So that's why I gave the specific quotes, and it was walked past. It's the crux of the whole issue. There is a philosophy that leads to atheism and nihilism and materialism portrayed onto the world as if it is in fact scientific fact. You can't prove that the earth is moving. If the earth is a ball that spins, which it objectively isn't, we falsified it, everything gives us the illusion that it's stationary. This is what all of the astronomers and astrophysicists say that gave you the current model.
The moon, the very first photograph ever taken by Yahuwah. Wow.
After noticing a jelly-like substance on her car after a strong rain in Malaga, Spain, a woman proceeded to record the video that you're about to watch. Pay very close attention.
A ver, esto es granizo porque esto tiene pinta de ser gelatina. Mirad, o sea, esto es granizo. Es que tengo todo el coche igual. A ver, dice.
Some people on the internet are saying that this has to be some sort of black goo type substance due to the fact that this is not the first time or not the first video where something like this actually happens. This, for instance, is another video. Check this out.
This is literally the weirdest thing. Okay, it's 65 degrees, so y'all know it's too warm for snow and ice. And it was not like that last night. This chemical residue is from the rain, y'all. And it's so bad, like it doesn't even want to come off my car. Like, what are they putting in the air? It's so, like, I don't know what it is, but it doesn't wipe off with the windshield wiper. It just smears this weird frosty, waxy looking stuff into the windshield. Like, it's not coming off. You hear that? I'm gonna have to scrape this off, for real, like with a little brush or something, because it's not coming off.
After noticing a jelly-like substance.
Man, what type of chemicals is going in the air? Oh, I know. I wonder exactly what type of rain will be produced after this has been lingering in the air. I wonder how this will affect the environment.
I've never seen anything like that. Look at it blowing up.
Look at that water spout. Oh my god.
Wait, what is that? It's a chemical. Go.
I wonder what type of rain's going to happen after this is in the air. How this is going to affect environments, the plants, the animals that eat the other animals that's been soaking in this.
Oh, it don't even look real.
How is this really going to affect the environment? The people around it, how are they feeling? Yesterday I played this video. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I'm going to give you a little snippet of it.
So I have publicly vouched and used this book of Jubilees. Well, let me apologize and give an explanation on why you shouldn't use this book and it shouldn't be considered as scripture. Because we shouldn't believe every spirit, but we should test them, because there are many false prophets that has gone out into the world. Jubilees gives us a whole different time frame for the feast day of Shavuot.
Now, the reason it has a wholly entire different time frame is because they took an entire month from us. So this may actually be the correct time frame. And he's going by today's current time frame. He doesn't know that they butchered our entire timeline and took out a month out of our calendar. Watch this.
This is why I've said the dates that they are giving us are incorrect. We used to have 13 months, 28 days, and 1 day of rest, even in the Bible. So look, we have 13 lunar cycles of 28 days, 13 zodiac signs, every turtle shell you'll find, 13 sections in the middle, and 28 notches along the side, all to keep us disconnected from these natural cycles of our realm. Listen to David Strait explain it more.
Our calendar is not quite right. We're supposed to have 13 months of 28 days, with one day, the day of resurrection, Easter, as a neutral day. That's our 365 days. We've actually got 13 constellations, not 12. This same calendar is very close to the Mayan calendar, but it's also very close to several ancient Sanskrit calendars. What does sept mean? 7. I thought that was the 9th month. What does oct mean? What does nov mean? What does dec mean? It's supposed to be the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th month. Jan is 11. Feb is 12. March is 13. April is our first month. Babies are born in the spring, the 1st of April, Easter. This is the start of our new year. This is the start of spring, when the flowers start coming up, the grass starts coming up, the trees start leafing out, the babies are born. That's the first day. Our neutral day, day 1, the day we rest and celebrate the resurrection, the new beginning, the beginning of Christ. April is month 1. And then we lost a month in there. Where is it?
This is why I've said the dates that they are giving us are incorrect. We used to have 13 months.
I honestly believe that wholeheartedly, for entertainment purposes only. Do your own research and keep your head on a straight swivel. But if you ask me, that makes perfect sense. Why would, from people that live where there's snow and stuff happens, why would the new year start in January when it's all mucky and stuff? It's like a new beginning when April comes and everything is just so beautiful and the flowers come out. It makes sense. Let me know your guys' thoughts below in the comments on that. That is extremely interesting. That's the first time I heard about that. And quite frankly, it lines up. So with that being said, the book of Jubilee, we have to dive into, because there's definitely some validity. Are they trying to teach us the correct ancient calendar? Let's see what they say.
My brothers and sisters, there is a book where you can find a lot more books. That is the Apocrypha. When I tell you there is a lot in here, there is a lot in here. As you can see, I had it for some time. And guys, do not get it wrong. Everything you need is in the Holy Bible. But for those who want to go deeper into some stories, this is definitely an amazing book. What do I mean by deeper into some stories? Well, for example, the life of Adam and Eve is in this book. And it goes into detail on what happened with Adam and Eve. As you can see, I read the whole book of the life of Adam and Eve, and this is where I learned just how sorry Adam and Eve actually were. They were devastated. I also read in the Apocrypha how on Noah's Ark they were terrified. There was a period inside of the ark where they were getting tossed around, and they thought they were going in the ark. Yeah, it goes deep. Now, for those who want to know where you can find the Apocrypha, hey man, I pray it blesses you guys who want to read more into more stories.
Who were all the women before the flood? Well, there are these ancient scrolls called the Book of Jubilees. It's not included in most Bibles, but it's this book that is said to be written by Moses himself. And it actually gives us a much more detailed look at life before the flood. See, after Cain kills Abel, he ends up marrying his younger sister, and her name was Awan. Then Eve has another child named Seth, who marries his younger sister, Azura. Then Enos takes his sister, Noam, before Kenan takes his sister, Mualaleth. Now, Mahalalel seems to be the very first person to marry his cousin, and her name was Dinah. From now on, everyone else would do the same thing. See, Jared would take his uncle's daughter, Baraka, before Enoch marries his uncle's daughter, Edna. Then Methuselah also marries a woman named Edna, before Lamech marries his cousin, Betanos. Finally, Noah would also marry his cousin, and it was through her that the whole world would restart. According to the Book of Jubilees, Noah had 3 sons, but his wife was a woman named Amzara.
I have been reading the apocryphal text, or the books that were taken out of the Bible, specifically the Apocalypse of Moses, and not only does it tell the true story of Adam and Eve, it sheds a lot of light on the Nephilim, which are giants, and it just goes to prove that if you are someone who follows religion, you need to read these books. If you are unfamiliar with the Apocrypha, these are not works or books that were forgotten in modern day Bibles. They were actually taken out by a single religion that I will not name for controversial reasons, only because they did not align with what they wanted people to know. And as someone who has been studying the specific books that were taken out of the Bible, I will tell you firsthand that they contain so much information that it will blow your mind. Not only do they talk about the true origin of giants or the Nephilim, they go into detail as to what happened between Satan and God. And now I am on the story of Adam and Eve and what they really did, what really happened, and how they were dealt with. If you are interested in learning about the Apocrypha, you can go to some of my videos where I talk about each one in book by book, but this specific one is going to be about the Apocalypse of Moses, or the true story of Adam and Eve. Now, if you are familiar with the real story of Adam and Eve, it goes as Adam and Eve were in this sanctuary and garden, and God made them so pure, and a serpent came and whispered to Eve. Eve ate the apple, and so did Adam. And in doing so, they realized that they were given all this knowledge, and they were shamed because they now know that they are naked, which God tried to hide them from. And that's pretty much where the story ends. That is the watered down version that is told in multiple religions to try to shield you from what really happened and what Adam and Eve really created. Mind you, this apocryphal text is multi-cross-referenced in many other apocryphal works in different religions. So not just the English version of the Apocrypha, but the Hebrew and Aramaic, it's everywhere but where it needs to be, which is in modern day religion. So I'm going to tell you the real story. People are aware that Adam and Eve created Cain and Abel, and Cain and Abel were the sons that won the other out of jealousy. But what people don't know is that Adam and Eve actually had 30 sons and 32 daughters. Cain and Abel were brothers, but they also had twin sisters. In the Apocalypse of Moses, Adam and Eve are speaking to their daughters, these 4 specific bloodline of them, and telling them the story of when God casted them out of the garden. The first thing that is not really correlated well when it comes to the story of Adam and Eve is why Eve ate the apple. It was not because a snake came to her. In the Apocrypha, it says that the actual Satan came to her with a serpent tongue and told her to eat the fruit. So the devil whispered to her and betrayed her and said to eat the fruit. And she ate the fruit, but when she did so, she promised the devil with the serpent tongue that she would also make Adam eat the fruit. So once she ate the fruit, everything in the garden died, except for the fig tree where she got the fruit from. And this is where she found the clothes to cover herself. A lot of people don't realize that Eve was by herself and Satan took the form of another angel, but he used a serpent's tongue to persuade her to eat the apple. And when Adam came back, she did the same to Adam, and that is why Adam ate the apple. After they ate this fruit, God came with them to the archangel Michael, and he came to them in a chariot within 1 hour, and he bestowed upon them their punishments. God banned them from the garden because not only did this apple let them know that they were naked, what that really was they found lust and they fornicated. So because they fornicated, God told them he is banning them from the garden, and he also gave them their own separate punishments. God turned to Eve and said that you will bear children. You will have these pains in your loins, and you will not be able to get past this pain, for you will feel it for hours and hours to come until you bore a child. And he looked to Adam, and Adam's punishment was pretty much, hey, I'm going to kick you out the garden too, and you need to stand by your wife, but you will be dealt with pain and you will have sickness, and every time you work there will be nails that scratch your hands, and you will go tired, you will grow fat, and you will grow poor. God then goes on to tell them that one day I will rescue you. One day you will receive my mercy, but not anytime soon. And Adam and Eve go through this eternal cycle of Satan tricking them and then them dying because of it, right? Like this whole life cycle, because Adam and Eve lived for 950 years. Also separated, and that's when she gave birth to Seth, Cain, and Abel, as well as their 2 daughters, which did not know anything that their parents did. Adam and Eve were well aware that Cain and Abel, one would kill the other, because Eve had a dream about the other drinking the blood and spitting it out, which really signified them killing each other. And in doing so, they created a murderer. And this murderer went on to have wickedness in his blood and his bones, and thus he gave forth to the mighty men, the Nephilim. I'm going to have to do a part 2, but I'm telling you, you guys want to tune in. This video is getting too long. If you stay to the end, thank you, and I'll see you next time.
Over 20 kids? I need to do... Man, I gotta read it. I gotta read the whole thing, man. I can't really speak on it because I haven't read it. You know, if you guys have, drop some interesting facts in the comments. You know, I love to hear it.
Okay, so remember how I told you I read the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Apocrypha, which are the hidden books of the Bible, and go over what I find in them? Have you guys ever heard of the angels, the biblically accurate angels, and the fallen angels that are in these books? And remember, I told you fallen angels, they fell to earth, corrupted mankind. They gave men things like war. They gave jewelry to women, makeup to women, different animals and fish, creating sirens, cyclopses, and these half-horse, half-human creatures. They were abominations. But we never really talked about the different types of angels that fell from heaven, what they look like, and what they may have created. And these angels show up in the Apocrypha, or the hidden books of the Bible, and I believe this is why, another reason why they were taken out of the Bible. So yes, there are different types of angels, and they even look different because they have different responsibilities, or even they're closer to God, or they are over certain things that just make them look different in the Bible. The Old Testament is really good at describing what these angels look like, and they're actually some scary angels. Like, all angels are not beautiful. Remember how I told you that fallen angels study humans? Like right now in today's day and age, they study humans so they can become them and look just like them. It makes sense that it's because they don't look human like it all and want to blend in and, you know, participate in the fundamental actions of mankind, the reason they corrupted mankind. I'm going to start with the first angel that I feel walks among us, but we can't tell who they are because they have learned and incorporated itself into being this human-like entity. There is this angel that sticks out to me a lot. It's kind of creepy, but it's called the seraphim angel. They are also known as the fiery ones, and it is plural of the word seraph. They are mentioned in the Bible as having multiple faces, hands, and feet, and also 6 wings and eyes. Seraphim has 6 wings, and each one of their wings serves a completely different purpose. One set is used to cover their face, denoting reverence and awe and acts of protection from the radiance of God's glory. Another set of wings is used for flying to aid in their swift servitude. And the third set is used to cover the seraphim's feet so they can humbly conceal their unworthiness. They have the appearance of burning flames, and their name literally means to burn with fire. God created these angels to be sinless angels, but they are not equal to God. The fact that they must cover their faces to protect themselves from blinding light of God's presence, even though they are sinless in nature, says a lot. What if the reason they have to hide their face is because there is something up under those wings? And the reason they hide their feet, I think that this is why fallen angels have to observe humans and do what they do to humans. I'm gonna do a part 2 because this has already gotten too long, but please, I'm gonna keep going. Thanks for listening. Did y'all know that mermaids were in the Bible? Now, this was a highly requested video. Now, let's talk about it. Now, there was a sacred text that was discovered, and it's basically a missing book that was a part of the Bible. And it is called the Book of Enoch. I know a lot of y'all been wanting me to talk about the Book of Enoch on my page for a minute now. And the Book of Enoch talk about mermaids and why throughout history, there have been countless sightings in all type of cultures and countries throughout the world. And this book is so interesting because it go deep into depths of stuff that is not talked about in the Holy Bible, such as these biblical creatures. Now, the Book of Enoch discusses this group of mysterious beings, and these beings are what led up to the creation of what we call mermaids and sirens now. And they were a group of angels called the Watchers. And these angels came down to earth and mated with humans. And this unholy union is what created the giants, which are called the Nephilim. And they're talked about in the book of Genesis. So whenever people be like, oh, I don't believe in giants, I don't believe in this and that. Okay, but they were in the Bible though. So for a punishment of them coming down here mating with these humans, the Watchers, that group of angels, they were basically bound to this place called Tartaria. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. And the Nephilim, which are the giants, they were destroyed in a flood. And the human women that mated with these Watchers, they were cursed. And that is how they became the sirens or the mermaids. Now, sirens can be translated into 2 different creatures. The Greek mythical creature, the siren, is this bird/human hybrid. And then in other translation is the, human woman/fish creature. But they both mean siren. But in both of the siren creatures, they all have this hypnotic song that have been known to lure sailors and people to their death for centuries. So originally, mermaids were human women. And this is why in several films, they turn into human women. So although they can't necessarily turn back into women in real life, that is why on movies, whenever they're out of the water, they turn back to their natural state. When they get back in the water, they turn back into a fish because they are cursed. But in this Bible, it mentioned how in the new earth, there won't be any oceans because God viewed the ocean as something unholy. And that is why people believe that these creatures in the marine kingdom are so demonic. Like all these different marine spirits, such as the mermaids, people believe that they're demonic. So in the book, it talks about how they believe that these aquatic humanoid creatures survived the flood and their natural habitat is now the water. So the marine kingdom. So that would explain why there have been so many different sightings for years around the world. But it talks about how they don't only inhabit the oceans. They inhabit other bodies of waters as well, such as lakes and rivers. So according to the Book of Enoch, mermaids or sirens are demonic. And they're basically cursed women that mated with these angels. God turned them into the siren. But this is all according to the Book of Enoch. Like I said, in different countries and cultures, people worship different mermaid deities and spirits. But if you haven't looked into the Book of Enoch, it gets deep, y'all. And I feel like the Book of Enoch gives us more of a better example of how the world was created. It's so interesting. But let me know what y'all think about the biblical mermaids because this was a highly requested video. Remember to keep it respectful in the comments and stay tuned for more of my mermaid tales from around the globe.
I always thought, what happened to those women after they made it with those angels? Like, what became of them? You know, but that answers it. You know, sirens and mermaids. Oh no. Y'all gotta tell me y'all thoughts on that. We getting deep on these waters.
All right, I'm excited. Let's just jump right into it. So this is the book of Yasher, chapter 1, starting from the very beginning, verse 1. And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. And God created man in his own image. And God formed man from the ground, and he blew into his nostrils the breath of life. And man became a living soul endowed with speech. The Lord said, is it not good for man to be alone? It is not good, for a man to be alone. I will make unto him a helpmeet. And the Lord caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept. And he took away one of his ribs, and he built flesh upon it, and formed it, and brought it to Adam. And Adam awoke from his sleep, and behold, a woman was standing before him. Just to stop there for a moment, the word helpmeet to describe the wife is somebody who is of suitable assistance. So they are of equal value. I think this is very important because this has been used so much against women that they were secondary. They're just like this little maid that runs around and does stuff. It is someone of equal. Think of it, if you are a CEO or a business owner, you want someone of equal value, equal assistance to be your, your secondary, your partner, your vice president, your COO. You want somebody who, when you need assistance, they can actually be of equal value to you. And so helpmeet, when you look up the word, is someone that is of suitable and equal value. I just want to point that out because I know that might get a comment. Also, a fun fact, in 1 Peter verse 3:7, it does say, that husbands that do not treat their wives very well, their prayers will be hindered. Just throwing that out there, to help us all as we grow. Let's continue. So the Lord caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept. And he took away one of his ribs, and he built flesh upon it, and formed it, and brought it to Adam. And Adam awoke from his sleep, and behold, a woman was standing before him. He said, this is a bone of my bones, and it shall be called woman. For this has been taken from man. And Adam called her Eve, for she was the mother of all living. And God blessed them and called their names Adam and Eve in the day that he created them. And the Lord God said, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. The Lord God took Adam and his wife, and he placed them in the Garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it. And he commanded them and said unto them, from every tree of the garden you may eat, but from the tree of knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat. For in that day you eat thereof you shall surely die. When God had blessed and commanded them, he went from them, and Adam and his wife dwelt in the garden according to the command which the Lord had commanded them. So far sounds pretty normal, so let's meet up in the next part to see what else we're learning so far. Yeah, sure, we've already been introduced to Adam and Eve the same exact way the Bible introduced us. So let's continue. We're going to go to verse 8. When God had blessed and commanded them, he went from them, and Adam and his wife dwelt in the garden according to the command which the Lord had commanded them. And the serpent, which God had created with them in the earth, came to them to incite them to transgress the command of God, which he had commanded them. The serpent enticed and persuaded the woman to eat from the tree of knowledge. And the woman hearkened to the voice of the serpent, and she transgressed the word of God, and took from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and she ate. And she took from it, and gave also to her husband, and he ate. I'm going to pause here because, yes, Eve has always been acknowledged for being the one who took the apple, gave it to Adam, and caused all these problems. A lot of people blame womankind for this. The reason why Adam was also condemned was because he knew not to do this. And so I just put that out there because sometimes someone will tell you to do something. That is their judgment. What you do with it then becomes your judgment. Just random. So anyway, let's continue. Verse 11, Adam and his wife transgressed the command of God, which he commanded them, and God knew it. And his anger was kindled against them, and he cursed them. And the Lord God drove them that day from the Garden of Eden to till the ground from which they were taken. And they went and dwelt at the east of the Garden of Eden. And Adam knew his wife Eve. So he laid with her. He knew her. Knew his wife Eve. And she bore 2 sons and 3 daughters. 3 daughters. That was never mentioned in the Bible. So let's continue. It says, and she called the name of the firstborn Cain, saying, I have obtained a man from the Lord. And the name of the other she called Abel. For she said, in vanity we came into the earth, and in vanity we shall be taken from it. And the boys grew up, and their father gave them a possession in the land. Cain was a tiller of the ground, and Abel a keeper of sheep. Side note, I did the Cain and Abel story on my YouTube page in case you want to go there. But anyway, verse 15, and it was at the expiration of a few years that they brought an approximating offering to the Lord. And Cain brought from the fruit of the ground, and Abel brought from the firstlings of his flock, from the fat thereof. And God turned and inclined to Abel and his offering, and a fire came down from the Lord from heaven and consumed it. Okay, so I know that we all know the story of Cain and Abel, but the next 2 verses kind of gives us more context as to why Cain was so mad. So part 3, we were introduced into Cain and Abel in the last part. We get it. God didn't like Cain's offering. So let's continue. This is part of verse 16. So Cain was jealous against his brother Abel on account of what God felt. So he sought a pretext to slay him. And in some time after, Cain and Abel, his brother, went one day into the field to do their work. And they were both in the field, Cain tilling and plowing his ground, and Abel feeding his flock. And the flock passed that part which Cain had plowed in the ground, and it sorely grieved Cain on this account. Okay, so this, I mean, again, we're reading this and we're going to discern and figure out if we think this is accurate. But it does give an explanation, right? So yes, Cain is already upset at Abel because, he's jealous. God didn't like what he brought. But even more so, Cain is tilling the ground. Like, he's digging in the ground. He's getting the ground ready for vegetables. And Abel decides to just walk through that area with his flock. Excuse me? Like, I have brothers. They're annoying sometimes. Like, why would you do that? I just tilled this ground. You're going to walk your little raggedy sheep through my ground. I'm trying to get good vegetables to get back in God's good grace. Anyway, let's keep reading. Verse 18. And Cain approached his brother Abel in anger and said unto him, what is there between me and thee, that thou comest to dwell and bring thy flock to feed in my land? Those are like biblical fighting words. Like, who are you is what I got from that. Anyway, Abel answered his brother Cain and said unto him, what is there between me and thee, that thou shalt eat the flesh of my flock and clothe thyself with their wool? Sassy. So Abel's like, so who are you? Like, I give you the meat. Are you not dressed in the wool of my sheep? Like, anyway, let's keep going. Let's keep going. And now thereof, put off the wool of my sheep with which thou hast clothed thyself, and recompense me for their fruit and flesh which thou hast eaten. And when thou shalt have done this, I will then go from thy land as thou hast said. This is the ancient text drama that I am here for. Because Cain is like, who do you think you are? Abel's like, the one who's clothing you. That's who I think I am. Pay me for what I have given you, and then maybe I'll get off your raggedy land. Oh, Cain has some payment coming for him, all right. Let's keep reading. Verse 21, Cain said to his brother Abel, surely, if I slay thee this day, who will require thy blood from me? Please meet me in the next part. Okay, so we are in part 4. The last one, Cain and Abel got into it. And Cain is basically like, yo, who's going to stop me, bro? I'll kill you right now. So let's keep reading. This is verse 22. Abel answers Cain and says, surely God who has made us in the earth, he will avenge my cause, and he will require my blood from thee, shouldst thou slay me. For the Lord is the judge and arbiter, and it is he who will requite man according to his evil, and the wicked man according to the wickedness that he may do upon earth. And now, If thou shouldst slay me here, surely God knoweth thy secret views, and will judge thee for the evil which thou didst declare to do unto me this day. When Cain heard the words which Abel his brother had spoken, behold, the anger of Cain was kindled against his brother Abel for declaring this thing. And Cain hastened and rose up, and took the iron part of his plowing instrument, with which he suddenly smote his brother, and he slew him. And Cain spilt the blood of his brother Abel upon the earth, and the blood of Abel streamed upon the earth before the flock. And after this, Cain repented, having slain his brother, and he was sadly grieved, and he wept over him, and it vexed him exceedingly. And Cain rose up and dug a hole in the field, wherein he put his brother's body, and he turned the dust over it. The Lord knew what Cain had done to his brother. And the Lord appeared to Cain and said unto him, Where is Abel thy brother that was with thee? And Cain dissembled and said, I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper? And the Lord said unto him, What hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground where thou hast slain him. For thou hast slain thy brother, and hast dissembled before me, and didst imagine in thy heart that I see thee not, nor knew all thy actions. But thou didst this thing, and didst slay thy brother for naught, and because he spoke rightly to thee. And now, therefore, cursed be thou from the ground, which opened its mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand, and wherein thou didst bury him. It shall be, when thou shalt till it, it shall no more give thee its strength as in the beginning. For thorns and thistles shall the ground produce, and thou shalt be moving and wandering in the earth until the day of thy death. I did mention this on my YouTube page when I discussed the story of Cain and Abel, that the irony is, Cain needs the ground, but because his brother and the blood is in the ground, he is now cursed because of it. Anyway, let's read the next part. Last part, God came down and spoke to Cain, was very upset with him, basically condemned him for Abel. So we're going to continue in verse 33. It says, At that time, Cain went out from the presence of the Lord, from the place where he was, and he went moving and wandering in the land toward the east of Eden, he and all belonging to him. And Cain knew his wife in those days, and she conceived and bore a son, and he called his name Enoch, saying, In that time the Lord began to give him rest and quiet in the earth. Side note, this is not the same Enoch as the book of Enoch. Enoch was seems like a common name, like John. But this is the first Enoch. The other Enoch from book of Enoch comes from Cain's brother Seth, which is interesting because we didn't hear about Seth. We heard about Cain and Abel and 3 sisters that were born. I think we found that out in part 2. But anyway, we'll keep going. At that time, Cain also began to build a city, and he built the city, and he called the name of the city Enoch, according to the name of his first son. For in those days the Lord had given him rest upon the earth, and he did not move about and wander as in the beginning. And Irad was born to Enoch, and Irad begat Meshuel, and Meshuel begat Methuselah. That's the end of chapter 1. So chapter 2 now says, And it was in the 130th year of life of Adam upon the earth that he again knew his wife Eve, and she conceived and bore a son in his likeness, and in his image, and she called his name Seth. There we are. So Seth is introduced here. Cool. Saying, Because God has appointed me another seed in the place of Abel, for Cain has slain him. Now I did catch where they said that Seth was in Adam's likeness and image. I don't recall them saying the same about Cain nor Abel. Anyway, verse 2, chapter 2. And Seth lived 105 years, and he begat a son. And Seth called the name of his son Enosh, saying, Because in that time the sons of men began to multiply, and to afflict their souls and hearts by transgressing and rebelling against God. Also, Enosh is still not the book of Enoch. Enoch, from the book of Enoch, comes from the Enos line, which comes from the Seth line. I know it's confusing. Just for more clarity, that Enoch is like 6 people down from Adam. So, Adam, Seth, Enos, and then a few others, then book of Enoch. In the next part, they are going to mention all of these sons of Enos in that time period, all the destruction, and they are going to mention the flood. So, meet me there. All right, we're on a roll with this book of Jasher. So let's keep going. So now we have learned that Adam and Eve's third son, Seth, had a son named Enos. And so now we're going to talk about Enos's time. So it was in the days of Enos that the sons of men were transgressing against God and making God angry. It says, the son of men went and they served other gods. They forgot the Lord who had created them in the earth. And in those days the son of men made images of brass and iron, wood and stone, and they bowed down and served them. Every man made his god, and they bowed down to them. And the sons of men forsook the Lord of the days of Enos and his children. And the anger of the Lord was kindled on account of their works and abomination which they did in the earth. I've always had questions about this, because what made these people create gods? Like, what was the thought process here? Like, what did they see or whatever? Like, what is it? Because if you knew God of those time, what made you want to create your own? I don't know. Just me thinking out loud. Anyhow, verse 6, and this is chapter 2. And the Lord caused the waters of the river Gihon to overwhelm them, and he destroyed and consumed them. And he destroyed the third part of the earth. And notwithstanding this, the sons of men did not turn from their evil ways, and their hands were yet extended to do evil in the sight of the Lord. This is not the great flood we're talking about. And what is the third part of the earth that was destroyed? In those days there was neither sowing nor reaping in the earth, and there was no food for the sons of men, and the famine was very great in those days. The seed which they sowed in those days in the ground became thorns, thistles, and briars. For from the days of Adam was this declaration concerning the earth, of the curse of God, which he cursed the earth on account of the sin which Adam sinned before the Lord. And it was when men continued to rebel and transgress against God and to corrupt their ways that the earth also became corrupt. Enos lived 90 years, and he begat Canaan. And Canaan grew up, and he was 40 years old. He became wise and had knowledge and skill in all wisdom. And he reigned over all the sons of men. And he led the sons of men to wisdom and knowledge. For Canaan was a very wise man and had understanding in all wisdom. And with his wisdom he ruled over spirits and demons. That's an interesting line. He ruled over spirits and demons. Okay. And Canaan knew by his wisdom that God would judge the sons of men for having sinned upon earth, and that the Lord would in the latter days bring upon them the waters of the flood. So the flood was known about for a very long time. So let's talk about it probably next time to come. And he put them in his treasures. Canaan reigned over the whole earth, and he turned some of the sons of men to the service of God. And when Canaan was 70 years old, he begat 3 sons and 2 daughters. And these are the names of the children of Canaan. The name of the firstborn was Mahalalel, the second Enan, the third Mered, and their sisters were Ada and Zillah. These are the 5 children of Canaan that were born to him. And Lamech is the son of Methuselah, became related to Canaan by marriage, and he took his 2 daughters for his wife. And Ada conceived and bore a son to Lamech, and she called his name Jabal. She again conceived and bore a child, and called his name Jubal. And Zillah, her sister, was barren in those days, and had no offspring. There are a lot of people mentioned here, but basically the 2 brothers, Cain and Seth. Abel's gone. Cain and Seth. So Cain had a son who had a son. That son, Lamech, is marrying Seth's child or grandchild. Seth had Canaan, and Canaan had a daughter. So that's how they did it, right? Just to follow along. Verse 19, it says, in those days the Son of Men began to trespass against God and to transgress the commandments which he had commanded to Adam, which was to be fruitful and multiply in the earth. Some of the sons of men caused their wives to drink a drought that would render them barren, in order that they may retain their figures, and whereby their beautiful appearance might not fade. This gets crazy in the next few verses. So just plain English. Men are giving their wives something to drink to make them unable to get pregnant and carry a child so that they can maintain their girly figures, which is more beautiful to these men. But listen to the rest of this. When the sons of men caused some of their wives to drink, Zillah drank with them. Zillah is one of the daughters we mentioned earlier. And the childbearing women appeared abominable in the sight of their husbands as widows, whilst their husbands lived, for the barren ones they were only attached to. This reminds me of the war that you see now, women with children versus women without children. It's crazy, but look where it started. Okay, welcome back. Let's catch everyone up.
They out cold. They said, I don't want you to have kids, so here, drink this so we can get it in more. Oh my God.
Here are part 8 now, I believe, of Book of Yasher. So in the last part, we learned that men of those times had been giving women something to drink to make them barren because they saw pregnancy as abominable. They didn't want the women to lose their shape or figure in the name of having kids. So Zillah, who's one of the daughters of this time, the lineage of Seth, she also drank of this. But we're going to start verse 23. It says, "And in the end of days and years, when Zillah became old, the Lord opened her womb. She conceived and bore a son, and she called his name Tubal-Cain, saying, After I had withered away, have I obtained him from the Almighty God. She conceived again and bore a daughter, and she called her name Naamah. For she said, After I had withered away, have I obtained pleasure and delight. And Lamech was old and advanced in years, and his eyes were dim, that he could not see, and Tubal-Cain his son was leading him. And it was one day that Lamech went into the field, and Tubal-Cain his son was with him. And whilst they were walking in the field, Cain, the son of Adam, advanced towards them. For Lamech was very old and could not see much, and Tubal-Cain his son was very young. Tubal-Cain told his father to draw his bow, and with the arrows he smote Cain, who was yet far off, and he slew him, for he appeared to them to be an animal. And the arrows entered Cain's body, although he was distant from them, and he fell to the ground and died." Okay, so, whoa, this is... all right, a lot of things. Like if you've read the Bible, or if you care, you can watch my Cain and Abel video on YouTube, because it specifically says, God said in the Bible that anyone that Cain, they will have to face the wrath of God. Yet here we are learning about Lamech, who is like, I think, the grandson of Seth, which is Cain's brother, has now killed him. It says that, he couldn't see well, but I'm thinking, isn't Cain himself even older? Much older? Like what? I don't know. Anyway, let's keep reading. Verse 29, "And the Lord requited Cain's evil according to his wickedness, which he had done to his brother Abel, according to the word of the Lord which he had spoken. And it came to pass, when Cain had died, that Lamech and Tubal went to see the animal which they had slain, and they saw, and behold, Cain, their grandfather, dead upon the earth." This is true. Cain actually is also their grandfather, because Seth's child got with Cain's child, and then they created that lineage. Crazy. Okay. The next part is even crazier, because somebody else... and we're going to start part 9. So in the last part, Cain, from Cain and Abel, Cain was now... maybe not unfortunately, I don't know, by his, grandson, great-grandson, accidentally. Like, they didn't, Lamech couldn't see well. He shot him thinking that it was an animal. Cain is now dead. They've just figured this out. Like, when they walked up to see the body of the animal, it was the body of their grandfather. All right, so now let's start at verse 31. It says, "And Lamech was very much grieved at having done this, and in clapping his hands together, he struck his son and caused his..." Lamech, my guy, you just grandfather because you couldn't see him, but you were able to see him enough to whatever. And then you find son. All right, so this is crazy. But
by clapping his hands, though, what type of sonic wave did he create? Like, a clap? That has to be powerful to clap and delete somebody? Oh my God.
But the funny thing is, I had just gone through the book of Genesis, a couple weeks ago, and this is in there to an extent. I'm going to read it to what the Bible says. This is Genesis 4, verse 23. This is Lamech talking to his wives. He says, Ada and Zillah, listen to my voice, you wives of Lamech. Give heed to my speech, for I have killed a man for wounding me and a boy for striking me. So, I don't know. The Bible is saying he's a man and a boy. It doesn't specify who here. However, according to Yasher, we know who. Anyway, let's keep reading. Anyway, verse 32 says, and the wives of Lamech heard what Lamech had done, and they sought to kill him. The wives are about that life. Anyway, the wives of Lamech hated him from that day because he slew Cain and Tubal-Cain. And the wives of Lamech separated from him and would not hearken to him in those days. And Lamech came to his wives, and he pressed them to listen to him about this matter. He said to his wives, Ada and Zillah, hear my voice, O wives of Lamech. Attend to my word, for now you have imagined and said that I slew a man with my wounds and a child with my stripes, for their having done no violence. But surely know that I am old and gray-headed, and that my eyes are heavy through age, and I did this thing unknowingly. The wives of Lamech listened to him in the matter. They returned to him with the advice of their father, Adam, but they bore no children to him from that time, knowing that God's anger was increasing in those days against the sons of men to destroy them with the waters of the flood of their evil doing. And Mahalalel, the son of Canaan, lived 65 years, and he begat Jared. And Jared lived 62 years, and he begat Enoch. So that Mahalalel, that's the brother of those wives, Zillah and Ada, and he's the one who ends up having Enoch. Man, this is one murderous family. Anyway, so that ends chapter 2. We're going to start chapter 3, and they're going to talk to us about Enoch, who we've already learned about. Okay, so now we've learned Cain is also the great-great-grandson. Tubal-Cain has also been by his father. So let's jump into chapter 3 of Book of Yasher, where they have already said that Enoch was born. This is the book of Enoch. So verse 1, it says, and Enoch lived 65 years, and he begat Methuselah. And Enoch walked with God, after having begot Methuselah, and he served the Lord, and despised the evil ways of men. The soul of Enoch was wrapped up in the instructions of the Lord, in knowledge and in understanding. And he wisely retired from the sons of men, and secreted himself from them for many days. Don't you also want to wisely retire from the sons of men? And it was at the expiration of many years, whilst he was serving the Lord and praying before him in his house, that an angel of the Lord called to him from heaven, and he said, Here I am. He said, Arise, go forth from thy house, and from thy place where thou dost hide thyself, and appear to the sons of men, in order that thou mayest teach them the ways in which they should go, and the work which they must accomplish to enter in the ways of God. Enoch rose up according to the word of the Lord, and went forth from his house, from his place, and from the chamber in which he was concealed. And he went to the sons of men, and taught them the ways of the Lord. And at that time assembled the sons of men, and acquainted them with the instruction of the Lord. He ordered it to be proclaimed in all places where the sons of men dwelt, saying, Where is the man who wishes to know the ways of the Lord and good works? Let him come to Enoch. And all the sons of men assembled to him, for all who desired the thing went to Enoch. And Enoch reigned over the sons of men according to the word of the Lord, and they came and bowed to him, and they heard his word. The Spirit of God was upon Enoch, and he taught all his men the wisdom of God and his ways. And the sons of men served the Lord all the days of Enoch, and they came to hear his wisdom. And all the kings of the sons of men, both first and last, together with their princes and judges, came to Enoch when they heard of his wisdom, and they bowed down to him. And they also required of Enoch to reign over them, to which he consented. They assembled in all 130 kings and princes, And they made Enoch king over them, and they were all under his power and command. And Enoch taught them wisdom, knowledge, and the ways of the Lord. And he made peace among them. And peace was throughout the earth during the life of Enoch. And Enoch reigned over the sons of men 243 years. And he did justice and righteousness with all his people, and he led them in the ways of the Lord. These are generations of Enoch: Methuselah, Elisha, Elimelech, 3 sons, and their wives, Milcah, Naamah. Methuselah lived 87 years, and he begat Lamech. What a history lesson. Okay, in the next part, they're going to talk a little about Adam's death and what happens there. Continue on with Lamech. It says, it was in the 56th year of the life of Lamech when Adam died. 930 years old was he at his death, and he had 2 sons with him, Enoch and Methuselah, his son, buried him with great pomp, as at the burial of kings, in the cave which God had told him. And in that place all the sons of men made a great mourning and weeping on account of Adam. It has thereof become a custom amongst the sons of men to this day. So this is like the introduction, like the first real funeral. Because so far everyone who we've heard has died, somebody just buried like a hole and put them in there. But now we have Lamech, who came here with Enoch, which I think is like a nephew of his, and then Enoch's son, Methuselah, and then they all, as they said here, buried Adam like a king, and they wept over him. All right, so let's continue. It says, and Adam died because he ate of the tree of knowledge, he and his children after him, as the Lord God had spoken. And it was in the year of Adam's death, which was the 243rd year of the reign of Enoch. In that time Enoch resolved to separate himself from the sons of men, and to secret himself as at first, in order to serve the Lord. And Enoch did so, but did not entirely secret himself from them, but kept away from the sons of men 3 days, and then went to them for 1 day. And during the 3 days that he was in his chamber, he prayed to and praised the Lord his God. And the day on which he went and appeared to his subjects, he taught them the ways of the Lord. And all they asked him about the Lord, he told them. And he did in this manner for many years. And he afterward concealed himself for 6 days, and appeared to his people 1 day in 7. And after that, once in a month, then once in a year, until all the kings, princes, and sons of men sought for him, and desired again to see the face of Enoch, and to hear his word. But they could not, as all the sons of men were greatly afraid of Enoch, and they feared to approach him on account of the godlike awe that was seated upon his countenance. Therefore no man could look at him, fearing he might be punished and die. So it just says that over time, Enoch slowly removed himself from people. First, it was he was 3 days away, then he would see them 1 day. Then it was 6 days away, then he would see them on the 7th day. Then once a month, once a year. But interesting that it makes it seem that, the longer that Enoch was with God, the more Enoch himself had this countenance, this look to him that made other people feel like if they were too much in his presence, they would be punished and die. Wild. Okay, so the next part, Enoch gets a role that is going to ruffle some people. I'm just telling you from now. Introduced to Enoch, and he seems to have this great reign over the people of earth as he's building his relationship with God. So let's continue and see what they say. It says, and this is verse 22, and the day came when Enoch went forth, and they all assembled and came to him, and Enoch spoke to them the words of the Lord, and he taught them wisdom and knowledge. They bowed down before him and said, May the king live, may the king live. And in some time after, when the kings and princes and the sons of men were speaking to Enoch, and Enoch was teaching them the ways of God, behold, an angel of the Lord then called unto Enoch from heaven, and wished to bring him up to heaven, and make him reign there over the sons of God, as he had reigned over the sons of men upon earth. Listen, don't come attack me because I read that line, okay? This is what Yasher says. That now Enoch is being asked to be over the sons of God, which I believe are the angels. I didn't write this, okay? Let's continue. Verse 24. When at the time Enoch heard this, he went and assembled all the inhabitants of the earth, and taught them wisdom and knowledge, and gave them divine instructions. And he said to them, I have been required to ascend into heaven. I therefore do not know the day of my going. And now, therefore, I will teach you wisdom and knowledge, and will give you instruction before I leave you, how to act upon earth whereby you may live. And he did so. He taught them wisdom and knowledge and gave them instruction. And he reproved them, and he placed before them statutes and judgments to do upon earth. And he made peace among them, and he taught them everlasting life, and dwelt with them some time, teaching them all these things. So statutes, not statues. Anyway, just clear it up. And at that time the sons of men were with Enoch, and Enoch was speaking to them. And they lifted up their eyes, and the likeness of a great horse descended from heaven, and the horse paced in the air. They told Enoch what they had seen, and Enoch said to them, On my account does this horse descend upon earth. The time is come when I must go from you, and I shall no more be seen by you. And the horse descended at that time, and stood before Enoch, and all the sons of men that were with Enoch saw him. And Enoch then again ordered a voice to be proclaimed, saying, Where is the man who delighteth to know the ways of the Lord his God? Let him come this day to Enoch before he is taken from us. And all the sons of men assembled and came to Enoch the day, and all the kings of the earth with their princes and counselors remained with him that day. And Enoch then taught the sons of men wisdom and knowledge, and gave them divine instruction, and he bade them serve the Lord and walk in his ways all the days of their life. The next part is a crazy journey with Enoch. So, in the last part, we were introduced to Enoch, and he seems to have this. Cool. So, in the last part, we heard that Enoch has now been given the task to reign over the sons of God. So, these are the enlightened angelic beings. So, now let's continue on and see what else happens for him. This is verse 32. It says, And it was after this that he rose up and rode upon the horse, and he went forth, and all the sons of men went after him, about 800,000 men, and they went with him one day's journey. And the second day he said to them, Return home to your tents. Why will you go? Perhaps you may die. And some of them went from him, and those that remained went with him 6 days' journey. And Enoch said to them every day, Return to your tents, lest you may die. But they were not willing to return, and they went with him. On the 6th day, some of the men remained and clung to him. And they said to him, We will go with thee to the place where thou goest. As the Lord liveth, death only shall separate us. And they urged so much to go with him, that he ceased speaking to them, and they went after him and would not return. And when the kings returned, they caused a census to be taken in order to know the number of remaining men that went with Enoch. And it was upon the 7th day that Enoch ascended into heaven in a whirlwind, with horses and chariots and fire. And on the 8th day, all the kings that had been with Enoch sent to bring back the number of men that were with Enoch, in that place from which he ascended into heaven. All those kings went to the place, and they found the earth there filled with snow. And upon the snow were large stones of snow. And one said to the other, Come, let us break through the snow and see. Perhaps the men that remain with Enoch are dead, and are now under the stones of snow. And they searched, but could not find him, for he had ascended into heaven. So what's happening here? So we know at this point that Enoch was told that he is to leave the sons of men, so people, and go and be with the sons of God. So go into heaven. And he left. He went on a journey. It took him 7 days to get to where he needed to go to ascend to heaven. Well, all these people, so kings, princes, I believe it said 800,000 men, followed him, trying to clutch onto him, wanting to go where he goes. He kept telling them day after day, you guys need to go back home, lest you die. Well, on the final day, the 7th day, he was taken up. They said that he ascended in a whirlwind to heaven, on the horse that he was on. And all those men went back to where they were from, but they decided to go back to where they last saw him, which they described it as a place with snow, to see if they could figure out had he died somewhere underneath the snow. This is interesting for anyone who believes that the ice caps that surround us are the edge of earth, and that is where heaven is. Cool. So in the last part, we heard.
That's exactly what I was thinking, man. Did they go beyond the ice walls? Because you can only go so far. So that was the first thing I was thinking, man. In Antarctica, they hide in something major in Antarctica, man. He went up with a whirlwind in Antarctica. That was the first time I ever heard about snow in the Bible, to be honest with y'all. So I seen that, I'm like, man, we gotta make it to at least part 13. But the Onyx Oracle, she goes all the way to. I gotta be honest. I need to see what happens on the ark, man. I gotta see. Finish the story just a little bit more on this book. I'm gonna have to read it myself, but I'm such like I can digest it so much more when someone else reads it, you know?
In the last part, Enoch was taken up in a whirlwind somewhere at the edge where there is snow. So that ended chapter 3. We're going to start chapter 4. So it says, and all the days that Enoch lived upon earth were 365 years. And when Enoch had ascended into heaven, all the kings of the earth rose and took Methuselah his son and anointed him, and they caused him to reign over them in the place of his father. Methuselah acted uprightly in the sight of God, as his father Enoch had taught him. And he likewise, during the whole of his life, taught the sons of men wisdom, knowledge, and the fear of God. And he did not turn from the good way either to the right or to the left. But in the later days of Methuselah, the sons of men turned from the Lord. They corrupted the earth. They robbed and plundered each other. And they rebelled against God, and they transgressed. And they corrupted their ways and would not hearken to the voice of Methuselah, but rebelled against him. And the Lord was exceedingly wroth against them. The Lord continued to destroy the seed in those days, so that there was neither sowing nor reaping in the earth. For when they sowed the ground in order that they may obtain food for their support, behold, thorns and thistles were produced, which they did not sow. And still the sons of men did not turn from their evil ways, and their hands were still extended to do evil in the sight of God. They provoked the Lord with their evil ways, and the Lord was very wroth, and repented that he had made man. And he thought to destroy and annihilate them, and he did so. In those days, when Lamech the son of Methuselah was 160 years old, Seth the son of Adam died. And all the days that Seth lived were 912 years. Then he died. And Lamech was 180 years old when he took Ashmua, the daughter of Elisha, the son of Enoch his uncle, and she conceived. And at that time the sons of men sowed the ground, and a little food was produced. Yet the sons of men did not turn from their evil ways, and they trespassed and rebelled against God. The wife of Lamech conceived and bore him a son at that time, at the revolution of the year. Methuselah called his name Noah, saying the earth was in his days at rest and free from corruption. And Lamech his father called his name Menachem, saying, this one shall comfort us in our works and miserable toil in the earth which God has cursed. What's wild is how the generations cross over each other. We just heard that Seth at this point just now passed away. That's the son of Adam and Eve, who knows Lamech. And Lamech is the father of Noah. So you see how close they really are, because they lived for such a long time back then. So let's find out about Noah in the next section. Part 18 of the book of Yashar, the last part, we ended with God basically taking the lives of all of the people who were believers so that they did not have to see the destruction that was going to happen in Noah's time. So continuing book 4:20, verse 23, and Noah and Methuselah stood forth and said in the ears of the sons of men all that God had spoken concerning them. But the sons of men would not hearken, neither would they incline their ears to all the declaration. And it was after this that the Lord said to Noah, the end of all flesh is come before me on account of their evil deeds, and behold, I will destroy the earth. And do thou take unto thee gopher wood, and go to a certain place, and make a large ark, and place it in that spot. Thus shalt thou make it 300 cubits in length, 50 cubits broad, and 30 cubits high. Thou shalt make unto thee a door, open at its side, and to a cubit thou shalt finish above, and cover it within and without with pitch. Behold, I will bring a flood of waters upon the earth, and all flesh be destroyed from under the heavens. All that is upon earth shall perish. And thou and thy household shall go and gather 2 couple of all living things, male and female, and shall bring them to the ark to raise up seed from them upon earth. And gather unto thee all food that is eaten by the animals, that there may be food for thee and for them. And thou shalt choose for thy sons 3 maidens from the daughters of men, and they shall be wives to thy sons. Noah rose up, and he made the ark in the place where God had commanded him, and Noah did as God had ordered him. In his 595th year, Noah commenced to make the ark, and he made the ark in 5 years, as the Lord has commanded. Then Noah took the 3 daughters of Eliakim, son of Methuselah, for wives for his sons, as the Lord had commanded Noah. And it was at this time Methuselah, the son of Enoch, died. 960 years old was he at his death. So, if I understood the lineage correctly, he married his aunts to his sons. I'm just saying, ladies, they tell you sometimes your husband isn't even born yet. Really another message that I find in this, and whoever this is for, just start something, because Noah built an entire ark in 5 years. But imagine how he felt when he first started. That is such a huge task, that God asked of him. But he just started. He just got the wood and just started. And so, yes, it looks crazy in the beginning. It looks like you don't know how it's going to end, how long it's going to take. Just start it. Just start it. Go with what you're supposed to do. And then when you finish it, you're going to have something beautiful. All right, back to Book of Yasher. So, last part, Noah got his aunts to marry with his sons, and then we're now in chapter 6. So let's start off with verse 1. At that time, after the death of Methuselah, the Lord said to Noah, Go thou with thy household into the ark. Behold, I will gather to thee all the animals of the earth, the beasts of the field, and the fowls of the air, and they shall all come and surround the ark. And that thou shalt go and seat thyself by the doors of the ark, and all the beasts, the animals, and the fowls shall assemble and place themselves before thee. And such of them as shall come and crouch before thee shalt thou take and deliver into the hands of thy sons, who shall bring them to the ark, and all that will stand before thee thou shalt leave. The Lord brought this about on the next day, and animals, beasts, and fowls came in great multitude and surrounded the ark. Noah went and seated himself by the door of the ark, and all of the flesh that crouched before him he brought into the ark, and all that stood before him he left upon earth. And a lioness came with her 2 whelps, male and female, and the 3 crouched before Noah. And the 2 whelps rose up against the lioness and smote her, and made her flee from her place. And she went away, and they returned to their places and crouched upon the earth before Noah. The lioness ran away and stood in the place of the lions. And Noah saw this and wondered greatly. And he rose and took the 2 whelps and brought them into the ark. And Noah brought into the ark from all living creatures that were upon earth, so that there were none but which Noah brought into the ark. So just like Noah, I also am wondering greatly about that. I find it interesting because obviously, based on what they're saying here, God called the animals to go to the ark and stand there, and then you would be let in. And in this case, a lioness, so a mother, came with her 2 cubs. They called them whelps here, a male and a female, and crouched, in an attempt to ask to be let on. And those 2 cubs turned against her and fought her, or they hit her, they smote her is the word that they used, and she ran away. And it's interesting, because although that is their mother, the call is for them. A male and a female are to come onto the ark. And I remember reading something a long time ago. A lot of the animals were young. They were young. They were brought onto the ark, which would make sense. You wouldn't bring an older version of something that is, to repopulate the earth. But interesting, to me, it just means that not everyone is called and will be able to go. So unfortunate, but there's a reason for everything. Also, please don't smite your mom. Just throwing it out there. All right, so maybe in the next part, we'll hear more about Noah, the animals, and the flood. Okay, cool. Welcome back to Book of Yasher. So we're at the part where Noah is now bringing on the animals to the ark. So book 5, this is going to be verse 9. It says, 2 and 2 came to Noah in the ark, But from the clean animals and clean fowls, he brought 7 couples, as God had commanded. And all the animals and beasts and fowls were still there, and they surrounded the ark at every place. And the rain had not descended till 7 days later. My own personal thought, like I remember when I was a kid, I was like, how do they fit all the animals on the ark? Well, it's types of animals. So I'll use dogs as an example. You wouldn't bring every breed of dog. You would just bring one, let's say wolves. You just bring wolves, right? Like one male, one female. And from there is where we get all these different, breeds or categories of the animal. So they're just bringing a type of animal onto the ark. So anyhow, verse 11, it says, "And on that day the Lord caused the whole earth to shake, and the sun darkened, and the foundation of the world raged, and the whole earth was moved violently, and the lightning flashed, and the thunder roared, and all the mountains in the earth were broken up, such as was not known to the inhabitants before. And God did this mighty act in order to terrify the sons of men, that there might be no more evil upon earth. And still the sons of men would not return from their evil ways, and they increased the anger of the Lord that time, and did not even direct their hearts to all this. And at the end of 7 days, in the 600th year of life of Noah, the waters of the flood were upon the earth, and all the fountains of the deep were broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened, and the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. And Noah and his household and all the living creatures that were with him came into the ark on account of the waters of the flood, and the Lord shut him in. And all the sons of men that were left upon the earth became exhausted through evil on account of the rain, for the waters were coming more violently upon the earth, and the animals and beasts were still surrounding the ark." Oh, that's sad. And the sons of men assembled together, about 700,000 men and women, and they came unto Noah to the ark. And they called to Noah, saying, "Open for us, that we may come to thee in the ark, and wherefore shall we die?" And Noah with a loud voice answered them from the ark, saying, "Have you not all rebelled against the Lord, and said that he does not exist? And therefore the Lord brought upon you this evil to destroy and cut you off from the face of the earth." I think about people who say all the time that God does not exist. Honestly, do you really want to be on the wrong side of this? Do you really want to be one of these people that is like begging, being like, please let me in now. Now I finally believe. Anyway, meet me in the next one.
No, I don't want to be. Oh, Lord, forgive me, please. No, I don't want to be on the other side.
Okay, cool. Welcome back. Hey, welcome back to part 22 of the book of Yasher. So now we left off where Noah is in the ark with the animals, and everyone is kind of getting thrown around at this point. So let's continue and see what happens with everyone. It says, "All the living creatures that were in the ark were terrified, and the lions roared, and the oxen lowed, and the wolves howled, and every living creature in the ark spoke and lamented in its own language, so that their voices reached to a great distance. And Noah and his sons cried and wept in their troubles. They were greatly afraid that they had reached the gates of death. Noah prayed unto the Lord, and cried unto him on account of this. And he said, Lord, help us, for we have no strength to bear this evil that has encompassed us, for the waves of the water have surrounded us. Mischievous torrents have terrified us. The snares of death have come before us. Answer us, Lord, answer us. Light up thy countenance toward us, and be gracious to us. Redeem us and deliver us." Is that not a message? Whatever you're going through and you're getting thrown around and you just feel like, what did he say, like death is upon us? This is a message for every single person. It doesn't matter what you're going through. Consider Noah and his family. They're the only human beings in a giant boat that's being thrown around like waters that are going through it, almost like a hurricane is what it sounds like. And they were scared, and it's okay to be scared. It's expected to be scared in certain situations. But in those moments of fear, what are you supposed to do? Exactly what he did. He called out to God, because not only is he and his family going through this, they're trapped with animals that if they break free could probably kill them. Just saying. Okay, so let's continue. The Lord hearkened to the voice of Noah, And the Lord remembered him. And a wind passed over the earth, and the waters were still, and the ark rested. And the fountains of the deep and the windows of heaven were stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained. The waters decreased in those days, and the ark rested upon the mountains of Ararat. And Noah then opened the windows of the ark, and Noah still called out to the Lord at that time, and he said, Lord, who didst form the earth and the heaven and all that are therein? Bring forth our souls from this confinement, and from the prison wherein thou hast placed us, for I am much wearied with sighing. The Lord hearkened to the voice of Noah and said to him, When thou shalt have completed a full year, thou shalt then go forth. That's another good message. Sometimes if you do ask God, he'll give you a timeline, so at least you know when whatever you're going through will end, and even that will give you peace, even if you're still going through it. So although it only rained for 40 days and 40 nights, he was told to still wait 1 year after that to be released. So even there's a message for you. Meet me in the next. Hey, welcome back to part 22 of the book of Yasher. Part 23 of the book of Yasher. We are still in book 6. We're at, I think, verse 38. And so we last left off where Noah and his family and all the animals are in the ark, and they were told by God, you need to wait 1 year after the 40 days and 40 nights of rain. And so here we are now. It says, and at the revolution of the year, when a full year was completed to Noah's dwelling in the ark, the waters were dried off from the earth, and Noah put off the covering of the ark. At that time, on the 27th day of the 2nd month, the earth was dry. But Noah and his sons and those that were with him did not go out from the ark until the Lord told them. And the day came that the Lord told them to go out, and they all went out from the ark. And they went and returned, every one to his way and to his place. And Noah and his sons dwelt in the land that God had told them. And they served the Lord all their days. And the Lord blessed Noah and his sons on their going out from the ark. And he said to them, Be fruitful and fill all the earth. Become strong and increase abundantly in the earth and multiply therein. So that now brings us to chapter 7. It says, And these are the names of the sons of Noah, Japheth, Ham, and Shem. And children were born to them after the flood, for they had taken wives before the flood. These are the sons of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, Tiras. He had 7 sons. Okay, so now this brings us to chapter 7. The first 20 verses are just talking about all the children that Noah's sons had. So it's quite a few verses of random sons' names. So we'll start at 23. It says, And Cush, who was the son of Ham, and Ham is the son of Noah, took a wife in those days in his old age. And she bore a son who they called Nimrod. At that time, the sons of men began to rebel and transgress against God. And the child grew up, and his father loved him exceedingly, for he was the son of his old age. The garments of skin which God made for Adam and his wife when they went out of the garden were given to Cush. For after the death of Adam and his wife, the garments were given to Enoch, the son of Jared. And when Enoch was taken up to God, he gave them to Methuselah, his son. And at the death of Methuselah, Noah took them and brought them to the ark, and they were with him until he went out of the ark. And in their going out, Ham stole those garments from Noah his father, and he took them and hid them from his brothers. And when Ham begat his firstborn Cush, he gave him the garments in secret, and they were with Cush many days. And Cush also concealed them from his sons and brothers. And when Cush had begotten Nimrod, he gave him those garments, through his love for him. Nimrod grew up, and when he was 20 years old, he put on those garments. And Nimrod strengthened himself, and he rose up from amongst his brethren, and he fought the battles of his brethren against all their enemies round about. So the next part, we're going to hear a little bit more about Nimrod. I know he's a very important person. The Bible mentions him. He's like a favorite, but he's a great warrior. So meet me there. Part 25, we are still in chapter 7 of the book of Yasher. We've now learned about Nimrod. He's a great warrior, and he now has his own kingdom where he reigns over these people. So it continues and says, this is verse 45. All nations and tongues heard of his fame, and they gathered themselves to him, and they bowed down to the earth, and they brought him offerings, and he became their Lord and King. And they all dwelt with him in the city of Shinar. And Nimrod reigned in the earth over all the sons of Noah, and they were all under his power and counsel. And all the earth was of one tongue and words of union. But Nimrod did not go in the ways of the Lord. And he was more wicked than all the men that were before him from the days of the flood until those days. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? So Nimrod knows that God's already wiped out the entire earth for wickedness. And what does he do? Decide to become even more wicked than everybody else. Great. Okay. It says, he made gods of wood and stone, and he bowed down to them. And he rebelled against the Lord, and taught all his subjects and the people of the earth his wicked ways. And Mardon, his son, was more wicked than his father. And everyone that heard of the acts of Mardon, the son of Nimrod, would say concerning him, from the wicked goeth forth wickedness. Therefore it became a proverb in the whole earth, saying, from the wicked goeth forth wickedness, and it was current in the words of men from that time to this. And Terah, the son of Nahor, prince of Nimrod's host, was in those days very great in the sight of the king and his subjects, and the king and princes loved him, and they elevated him very high. And Terah took a wife, and her name was Amthelo, the daughter of Cornebo. And the wife of Terah conceived and bore him a son in those days. Terah was 70 years old when he begat him, and Terah called the name of his son that was born to him Abram, because the king had raised him in those days and dignified him above all his princes that were with him. The message I'm getting right now, this year, 2023, there are going to be a lot of people who do really well in life for whatever reason. Like you just hit really big, you worked really hard, and you're going to start to elevate yourself. Similar to how Nimrod was being elevated, like he was the greatest warrior, and he was favored. And so he was given favor. Don't allow your favor to cause you to lose your true eternity where you should be. Right? The humility of keeping who you are, and remember, greater in me than is in the world, will keep you from making a mistake.
I had
Part 25, we are still in chapter 7.
I had to hear about the flood, guys. And I saw Nimrod was coming up. I had to dive in, man. Once again, shout out to Onyx Oracle for reading we went from Jubilee to the book of Joshua. But man, it was definitely, some of what it was saying was disturbing because I never heard it before. Over 20 kids. It just brought more context to it. Wow. I had to dive back in on that one. That was the first time I ever heard about snow in the Bible, to be honest with y'all. So I see now, I'm like, man, we got to make it to at least part 13. But the Onyx Oracle, she goes all the way to... This was back in 2023. She goes all the way to part 68.
I didn't know this, but this is Mastema from the Book of Jubilees. Check it out.
Who is Mastema? Mastema is not mentioned in the canonical Bible, but he is a significant figure in various pseudepigraphal and apocryphal texts. He is especially notable in the Book of Jubilees. In these texts, Mastema leads the fallen angels and personifies evil. He is similar to Satan in the Bible. Mastema acts as an adversary and accuser. In the Book of Jubilees, Mastema opposes God and tempts humans to sin. He causes suffering and corruption. The text describes him as the chief of the evil spirits. It suggests that Mastema led astray the descendants of Noah after the flood. Mastema's characteristics and actions are like those attributed to Satan in the Bible. The concept of Mastema reflects ancient beliefs about the existence of evil spirits and their influence on humanity.
The Book of Jubilees is there to fill in the story of Genesis, and it goes into more depth about the angels. Why did they fall? Who are the Nephilims? Why are there giants? And so on. I didn't know this, but this is Mastema from the Book of Jubilees. Check it out.
Who is Mastema?
Shalom. I was led by the Most High Yahuwah to read the Book of Jubilees. The Book of Jubilees is known as Little Genesis. It's very similar to the Book of Genesis, but it has a lot more to it. And as I began to read the book of Jubilees, it's like my spirit instantly connected to it. And it's almost like I felt like my Father was speaking to me through the scriptures. You know, I know a lot of us have been deceived into believing that we are supposed to celebrate these worldly traditions, these pagan holidays. And, you know, I was guilty of it once before too, because I did not know any better. And, you know, when we celebrate these pagan holidays, we are giving praise and worship, whether we unintentionally or intentionally doing it. We're giving praise and worship to false gods and false goddesses. These pagan holidays are for pagans. If you are not pagan, then why are you celebrating it? And it wasn't until I began to read the scriptures and read about the holy days that we're really supposed to be honoring, you know, especially if you are an Israelite, children of Yasharal. We are supposed to be honoring these holy days to give praise and worship, to give honor to our Father, the Most High Yahuwah. And the scriptures will tell us why we are to be celebrating a holy day, what's the purpose behind it, what to do on that day to honor that day. The book of Jubilees, chapter 6, verse 30 through 38. And all the days of the commandment will be 52 weeks of days, and these will make the entire year complete. Thus it is engraved and ordained on the heavenly tablets, and there is no neglecting this commandment for a single year or from year to year. And command you, the children of Yasharal, that they observe the years according to this reckoning, 364 days, and these will constitute a complete year, and they will not disturb its time from its days and from its feast, for everything will fall out in them according to their testimony, and they will not leave out any day, nor disturb any feast. But if they do neglect and do not observe them according to his commandment, then they will disturb all their seasons, and the years will be dislodged from this order, and they will disturb the seasons, and the years will be dislodged, and they will neglect their ordinances. And all the children of Yasharal will forget, and will find the path of the years, and will forget the new moons and seasons and Sabbaths, and they will go wrong as to all the order of the years. For I know, and from henceforth will I declare it unto you, and it is not of my own devising, for the Sefer lies written before me. And on the heavenly tablets the division of days is ordained, lest they forget the feast of the covenant, and walk according to the feast of the other nations, after their error and after their ignorance. For there will be those who will assuredly make observations of the moon, how it disturbs the seasons, and comes in from year to year 10 days too soon. For this reason the years will come upon them, when they will disturb the order, and make abominable day the day of testimony, and an unclean day a feast day, and they will confound all the days, the holy with the unclean, and the unclean day with the holy. For they will go wrong as to the months and Sabbaths and feasts and jubilees. For this reason I command and testify to you, that you may testify to them. For after your death your children will disturb them, so that they will not make the year 364 days only. And for this reason they will go wrong as to the new moons and seasons and Sabbaths and feasts, and they will eat all kinds of blood with all kinds of flesh. These scriptures are basically speaking about what we have been deceived to believe, that we are supposed to be celebrating, you know, all these pagan holidays. You know, we've been told that they mean this and they mean that, and the whole time they mean none of that. They all had demonic purposes behind it. They all worship and praise false gods and false goddesses, all of them, all pagan holidays, including our birthdays. Yes, our birthdays are also pagan. That singing a happy birthday song, blowing out them candles, that is a pagan ritual. It is demonic. It is giving praise and worship to false pagan gods and goddesses. But if you are not pagan and you are saying that you are a follower of the Most High Yahuwah and you only praise the Most High, then, you know, we really should not be celebrating those pagan holidays. We should be honoring these holy days that our Father gave to us, especially if you are an Israelite. We are supposed to honor these holy days. And, you know, honestly, this is my first year honoring the holy days, because for so many years I never knew what the holy days were, what was the purpose behind it, why I should be celebrating. I did not know. So that's why I'm sharing this with you, you know, for those who don't know, that, you know, if you are interested in celebrating the holy days, it's all in the scriptures. You know, get you a Bible that has like the books that have been taken out, because the Jubilees is not in every Bible. A lot of the books have been taken out of the Bible. But yes, we want to give praise and worship to our Father, the Most High Yahuwah. And a way of doing that is by honoring these holy days, because it is his commandments. Yes, there is actually more than 10 commandments. And it's like, until you read the scriptures, it's like you won't know that. Because we've all been told, like, oh, there's just 10 commandments and that's it. There's more than 10 commandments. He commanded us to do a lot of things. But yes, you know, my spirit has truly connected to the Bible. And, you know, I remember once upon a time when I would read the Bible, I did not understand what I was reading. And that's because, you know, when you are not walking with the Most High, you know, you won't comprehend what you're reading. But if you are truly walking with the Most High and you truly have the Holy Spirit is what's going to give you the guidance and the knowledge, the wisdom, the understanding of the scriptures that you're reading. And I'm here to tell you, once you understand it, I'm telling you, it's a beautiful thing. Like, it's like I'm literally reading something that my Father has written for me, for us, for his children. Like, why wouldn't I want to read it? Why wouldn't I want to honor his holy days? Praise Yahuwah. Shalom.
Yeah, the Book of Jubilees got some fire in it, man. I can't believe, you know, I had never heard of it. You know, that just shows you how much, you know, I know, but it's the research is out here. It sounds like the Apocrypha, man. It's every single book in there got some fire in it, man. Shout out to Christian Dina for that. Yeah. And it talks about the new moons, and we got this second moon coming. Was supposed to be out by now, so that also got me thinking too, you know. What correlation is this new moon that they're talking about with scripture? Let me know your thoughts below on that.
My guy, science just proved that the Bible was real without even knowing it. Okay, so as y'all know, scientists just found out there's another DNA called Neanderthal DNA. Alright, so now I'm about to tell y'all why science just proved that the Bible was real without even realizing it. So scientists are saying that every race contains Neanderthal DNA. You know, Asians, Latinos, Europeans, Hispanics, and the list goes on. But they also say that every race has Neanderthal DNA except for African modern descendants, aka black people. Like, you know, they really just proven that the Bible really is talking about the black people and how they're the real Hebrew Israelites, the real Jews. No disrespect, but one of the scientists actually noted that it's kind of like them being The pure humans. Hey, that didn't come from me. That they said that. I'm just repeating it. Now let me tell you where Neanderthal blood came from. Neanderthals came from Nephilims. Nephilims came from giants. And giants came from the fallen angels. Now the Bible speaks about how the fallen angels were supposed to be protecting the humans. But instead they began to fancy them and began to do sexual activities with the women and men, creating children. These children became dysfunctional giants, like those of Goliath, the one that David fought in the Bible. The giants soon began to create their own offsprings, creating the Nephilims, which allowed the Nephilims to create kids, which resulted into Neanderthals. Now, Neanderthal skin couldn't expose to the sun, so they had to move to a colder climate, aka the Caucasus Mountains. See where I'm going there? Which is where they got the word Caucasians from. Their skin grew lighter and lighter, which created the lighter skin pigmentation, which a lot of these races and ethnicities carry till this day. Now, Nephilims were giants, the violent offspring produced when wicked angels mated with human women in the days of Noah. The hybrids born from this unnatural union were no ordinary children. Since the Neanderthal blood is still alive, that just proved that some must have lived after the Noah flood. Otherwise, their habitation would have been washed away during this global catastrophe. This means one or more of the 8 people that was on Noah's Ark must have carried the unique genetic variations that Neanderthals possessed, allowing those genes to survive and to be passed on for a time before they eventually died out. Anyways, I got more to talk about, but we just gonna do that later. So I hope they don't take my page down again for something like this. But let's get into it. My guy. Science just proved that the Bible was real without even...
I try not to get into races because I love everybody, and also I'm more concerned where everyone is headed. That's just my thoughts on it. Because actually, I have no clue what actually happened. All we can do is just try to piece together the pieces of the puzzle and form our own hypotheses and conclusions. So definitely do your own research. None of this. We have to be the ones to distinguish fact from fiction and always love one another, no matter what skin color they got. Black, white, orange, blue, purple. We all bleed red and we're brothers and sisters trying to make it through life and do the righteous thing and all fight the good fight. Drop in the comments below your thoughts. Man, that was beyond fascinating. If you guys got any interesting you want to add on top of that, please jump in the comments below. We had to dive into the book of Joshua so we can see what's really going on, fill in the gaps, do your own research on all this, and it's up to you to separate fact from fiction and do your own research on everything. This was a fascinating one. If you made it this far, the code word is hope. If you made it this far, the key word tonight is love. Put love in the comments. That's the key word tonight, is love. I thank you guys for making it this far. I love you guys, and I'm going to see you guys on the next one. Peace out.